My anxiety levels were an all-time high. I had PTSD from the show. I had the psychological aspect of the show and the captive aspect of the show, and the environment in which it has to be shot because of the format of the show is not very human friendly. I'm an introvert, so my energy gets drained when I'm around people. I need to recharge, and my socket to recharge is अगर मैं अपने बिस्तर पे अकेली हूँ, कुछ किताब पढ़ रही हूँ, yeah, I'm doing nothing. That's how I energize and recharge. So I have said that line keeping in mind somebody else who I thought could have been Saga, but then ended up not being Saga. I don't want to do a Bigg Boss where I stand right now because I don't think I will be able to enjoy myself in that environment. I don't believe that I'm there at this point. I don't have any desires right now to be an actor. I don't think I want to give that a shot at this point either. And I genuinely don't think that I'm going to do myself any favors by pursuing that, because I don't think that it's the same way to present yourself when you're self-shooting a reel or when you're performing for a reel on your page for a topic that you believe in. She was the first person from my siblings that I made Rohan meet.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it was not like it was a litmus test, but it was just that from Bhaiya, from Khush, from Janu. Janu was the first one that Rohan met, and it was just the three of us hanging together. Then we had a meal. So that she was the first, the soft launch was through her in that sense.
Hi, this is Amina Sheikh here on Zoom channel, and with me right now I have not the traitor but the innocent Anshula Kapoor to join me as I welcome her only on Zoom. Definitely I want to know that why didn't you choose the side of traitors? Like, were you given a choice?
We don't get the choice. We are asked. Firstly, thank you for having me on Zoom for the show, since we've dived into it. The format is such that the host of the show, Mr. Karan Johar, in the first circle of Shak, chooses who he wants to make traitors. Originally, 3 and 5 ke beech mein, he can choose how many ever traitors they want. For the Indian version, I think they stuck with having 3 traitors. And the choice was completely Karan sir's. Before we met at that circle of Shak, he had individual interviews with each of us. So I think he used the questions he asked us there to figure out कि इसको innocent बनाना है, कि इसको traitor बनाना है. And before we started even filming, when we first signed on to do the show, each individual player has had a psychological assessment with a therapist. So I think the answers on that test combined with the interview that Karan sir took for all of us is what led him to choose who the traitors are going to be. So since I wasn't chosen, I have played the game as an innocent.
But also, when you were on the show and traitors, the entire concept is very different. Though it is influenced, somewhere, from the shows which we have seen, in the past also. This is completely a different concept in India. We have never seen something like this. And, it leads to a lot of doubts, especially when you watch a show like this. It does come to you personally also, in your respective life. Did that happen to you? Because after working on a show like this, I'm sure you must be doubting a lot of people. Acha, ye traitor wala side hai ya, innocent wala side hai?
Not in the way of doubting people, but more from the point of view of when you are playing as an innocent, your entire job is to evaluate all the other players to figure out who could be the traitor. And you're going on changes that you're seeing from maybe the way they are behaving, their emotions. It's just observation. You don't have a rule book. You are not given clues. It's not a clue hunt in that sense. So you're trying to trust your gut, you're trusting your instincts, and you're trusting your ability to read the room, to read people.
Yeah.
Every time in the show, when on Circle of Shak, based on your gut, you were voting and the person turned out to not be the traitor, they turned out to be the innocent. We've all gone down from the Circle of Shak back to the palace and had moments of severe self-doubt, to the point where when I left the show, after the filming was over and I've come back home, that ability to not understand if your gut is giving you right or wrong direction, that constant self-doubt of the decision I've taken, is it correct, is it incorrect, that stays with me. That has stayed with me, and that is in fact worse, because that affects not just your self-worth, but just your ability to function normally. You're literally questioning every single decision that you are taking based on the fact that for 12 days, you have trusted your gut and it's led you wrong, maybe. that is what was worse coming out of it than anything else.
And in fact, this dilemma does happen. We are anyway dealing with this social media dilemma. There are so many opinions being shared. And then you work on a show like this where I'm sure, you have your doubts. You kind of wonder, did I take the right decision or no? And the gut, the entire trust on the gut, it really goes for toss. And I'm sure, this must have affected you. But did that kind of, did you kind of forego, okay, chike, aise hota hai basically, we are just part of the show and we were just playing around.
When we were in the game, we were completely immersed in the game. We had no communication with the outside world, phones nahi the, kuch nahi tha. So you're constantly in game mode, and the way that the game is played is you're constantly trying to figure out the weakness in somebody to maybe understand that person could therefore be the traitor. Matlab unke facade mein that one crack that has happened, because of which now you know that their act has dropped, and we now know that they are actually playing as a traitor. They are not innocent. So to be able to go from that environment to constantly keep reminding yourself, you're playing a game, you're playing a game, you're playing a game. When you're out of this game, this is not how life is. You don't have to behave like this outside the game.
Yeah.
It is difficult. And again there, like you said, you are trusting your gut, and it does somewhere leave you astray. But how do you just forget from the fact that wo game tha, wo game mein ho gaya, game mein nikal gaya. The environment in which the game was played in itself was very traumatic for most of us. So even though I kept trying to remind myself every single day that this is a game, it still leaves a mark on your mental health. It leaves a mark on you emotionally, because you have spent 16-17 hours every single day thinking a certain way, spent time with people who've come from different walks of life, who come from different lived experiences. It's not an easy adjustment. Jab tak adjustment ho jata, you would become maybe a little bit more unguarded with someone. The person could just be murdered or eliminated. True. So then you're starting from scratch again. So it is very difficult to keep reminding yourself that play this as a game, don't get emotionally invested, don't, when you leave the show, don't feel like you have to take this back from you. Lekin wo kahin na kahin, it plays on your psyche, everything that you've experienced, because it almost is like you've lived in captivity for 2 weeks. How do you readjust without having to, you have to give yourself that time period where things are normalizing again for you. Right. And it was actually very difficult to readjust and completely normalize.
But do you also feel that, probably this game was completely a mental work more than, just physical, or you're just trying to understand, emotions, or, how people are playing? Like, for example, when I saw, Ashish Ji being targeted, I myself had that doubt, he keeps on sleeping all the time. And, you feel that way, so how do you kind of, judge people basically?
The original concept of the show is it's a psychological game. That is the whole point of the show. हम सब ने खेला होगा कभी ना कभी दोस्तों के साथ, a game called Mafia. It essentially is Mafia, where you're playing and you're trying to figure out who the traitor is, and you're playing from a psychological perspective. Obviously, when it's done in a day where it's immersive, you're doing it for 2 weeks continuously, and then you have Karan sir and everybody else telling you on literally every few hours, trust no one, dhoka everywhere, trust no one, dhoka everywhere. It does play on you. However, the edit that is being shown for every episode is 1 hour. 17-18 घंटे शूट करके उसमें से इतने participants, इतने conversations, चुन के बस एक ही कुछ दिखाना for that 1 hour. The narrative is created on the edit table. The show was created on the edit table. Of course, Ashish Ji used to nap every single day. But he also used to have conversations. I think he is a guarded personality, so it would have taken him a little bit more time to perhaps open up. Or maybe his way of analyzing things is taking a rest when he's thinking. I don't know. Before I could have that conversation with him in detail, unfortunately, he was eliminated from the show. But yes, he did nap, and he doesn't shy away from the fact that अगर उनको कभी भी जाके बोलते भी पैलेस में कि सर आप तो nap करके आए हो, we also have to keep in mind, yes, he is much older, the shooting hours are much more rigorous, and we were doing physical tasks and missions every single day. Out of, I think, the 10 missions for 10 episodes, I think 7 or 8 of them were physical. If not that, हम गर्मी में shoot कर रहे थे, कोई भी थक जाएगा.
That's true.
So him taking a nap is not the end of the world, but him not being the most approachable in the sense of when everybody is trying to have a conversation, that is when he's taken time off to have a rest. वो कहीं हमें खटकता था, because we were like, भाई हमको अगर किसी का perspective चाहिए and we want to discuss it, he's resting.
Yeah.
How is he playing the game?
True.
That was what we were not understanding, because also we were grasping at straws. मतलब लोग under, like you have bags under your eyes, you have dark circles. रात को मेरे I could hear some noises happening. I think a person living on my floor could be a traitor. We were grasping on straws to figure out ये traitor कौन हो सकता है. तो in that environment, when you're seeing somebody be very relaxed, perhaps we were thinking that he is more chilled out because he knows कि उनका murder नहीं हो सकता. तो उन्हें ढूंढना नहीं है, क्योंकि वो किसको ढूंढेंगे अगर वो खुद ही होंगे तो. Maybe that was also what we were thinking, but honestly, a lot of us have changed perspectives through the show. Every single day, एक नया नाम आता कि आज लगता है कि ये ट्रेटर होगा, क्योंकि ये observations करी है मैंने. It was very difficult. And every day that one person is eliminated, you have to go back to the drawing board. मतलब आप zero से शुरू करके दोबारा से सर्कल ऑफ शक तक जब पहुंच रहे हो तो आपके पास नया नाम, नए reasons होने चाहिए. It is exhausting.
But did you take some like therapies? And I know this is a question like which comes out of the box, but it does happen when you're mentally basically active on certain games like this. Did you take therapies post being a part of the show?
Of course, I didn't have a choice. I had to. My anxiety levels were an all-time high. I had PTSD from the show. I had the psychological aspect of the show and the captive aspect of the show and the environment in which it has to be shot, because of the format of the show is not very human friendly.
Yeah.
It's not like your emotions are riding at an all-time high. You are also with complete unknown people. You have no contact with who could be your safety. Matlab, you can't have one phone call with a parent, with a sibling, with a partner, with a friend. After you come out of it, simple thing like 2 हफ्ते मेरे हाथ में फ़ोन नहीं था, क्योंकि हम 2 हफ्ते बिना फ़ोन के शूट कर रहे थे. The day I switched on my phone after it was given back to me, धड़ notifications, because it was 2 weeks worth of notifications all coming at the same time. जैसे ही network पकड़ा. From that day onwards, for almost 3 weeks, every time my phone would vibrate more than 2 times continuously, I would want to throw my phone away. I would have that anxiety of, I can't deal with this. It's too much coming at me at the same time. But it's something very simple as just 3 groups sending messages at the same time. Even something as basic as that was a little bit triggering, because you do come out of a mental state which is you're not at your best.
Correct.
And even though the show is not asking you to question yourself, you are self-doubting, no? Because aapki gut galat ja rahi hai. So you have to get out of that zone. Then you have to get out of the fact that it was a very difficult shoot for everybody involved, including the production, for the number of hours we've all worked. I needed to go back to therapy, and intensive therapy. So before, in regular life, like before the show, if I would have therapy maybe a couple times a month, now I needed therapy couple times a week.
Okay.
I needed, and we shot the show last year in September. We got out of it and it was Diwali time almost. तो आप और लोगों से मिल रहे हो. Like there's so much incoming at you in terms of people and emotions. You need to be equipped to be able to deal with that, ना. आप एक shell बन के तो नहीं hide कर सकते पूरे festive season में मैं किसी से नहीं मिलने वाली हूँ. So to be able to even have that exterior facade of, okay, I'm fine, I'm normal, I will interact with you. I needed my therapist to like help me deal with anything and everything that life was throwing.
Wow. And on that note also, Anshula, I have to ask you that what do you take as a mental challenge for your life on a daily basis, like something which kinds of mentally challenges you and you kind of like work towards it?
Something that mentally challenges me?
Yes.
Every day. So when you are living the life as a content creator, every single day is a different like it's not a 9-to-5 job, right? So every day you're interacting with different people and every day looks different. There is no fixed idea of what your work life is going to look like in that sense as well. So that in itself is a good mental challenge, because it keeps you on your toes, constantly interacting with new people, constantly trying to figure out how to innovate, or what do you put out on your own platform. How do you, like for me, it's always how do I add value with the content that I'm doing. But apart from that, I think life has thrown enough challenges everyone's ways that every single day you're dealing with enough and above your own work to kind of keep you mentally stimulated. I've also become a lot more active physically. So if I have to go play a sport, like if I have to go play pickleball, or if I'm challenging myself in the gym with something new, that is also in a lot of ways a mental stimulant for me, because it's making me learn a new skill. So sometimes I will go and do an activity with like like you know those dates that you go on with friends, instead of going and watching a movie or going to a cafe, we end up going and doing something new, like pottery class चले गए, कुछ एक नया skill वहाँ पे सीख लिया, bartending class चले गए, learn how to make cocktails. So doing even things like that, I feel for me are very mentally stimulating, क्योंकि मुझे आदत है whatever I'm doing, I like to remain in my comfort zone. Like that's also another reason why I said yes to doing something like a Traitors, where I was wanting to push myself out of what is my normalcy and my normal comfort zone. So it's very easy to do anything that is different and new in a everyday life capacity that is mentally stimulating. At least that's where I come from.
Did you make any friends
from the show?
Yeah.
Of course. I'm an introvert, so for me it's very difficult to firstly open up, and then it's also very difficult for me to be front-footed about a friendship. तो मतलब मैं 10,000 बार phone नहीं उठा के बोलूँगी let's meet, let's hang. But as well-wishers and as friends and acquaintances who have met multiple times since we finished filming, there is Urfi, there's Sahil, there's Elnaaz, there's Jannat. I think Jannat was one of the sweetest people on the show in that sense as well. I have met Jasmine a few times after the show. I've met Lakshmi after the show. So yeah, I did end up creating bonds with them that have survived the filming.
Yeah.
But everybody else on the show, I don't think I was one of those participants who made enemies on the show. I don't think I was one of those participants who also came out of the show having animosity towards any of my fellow contestants. But I am not the kind of person who knows how to have 25 friends at the same time.
Yeah.
So with that in mind,
and that happens a lot with the
yeah, it's also very draining, because like how I don't know how to balance my social life with my work life. I'm working at making myself better at doing that.
Yeah.
But I end up having to prioritize maybe like having alone time over going and like having a party with somebody else.
Yeah.
Because I'm an introvert, so my energy gets drained when I'm around people. I need to recharge, and my socket to recharge is अगर मैं अपने बिस्तरे पे अकेले हूँ, कुछ किताब पढ़ रही हूँ, yeah, I'm doing nothing. That's how I energize and recharge. So for a person like that, for me, I can't constantly juggle and go from social plan to social plan to social plan.
Correct.
But yeah, like Sahil, Elnaaz, Urfi, I think I have hung out with and met the most. We've done social plans. They've the two of them have even come home for a meal and all of that. So yeah, one of the silver linings, I guess, or a golden lining, is the fact that kuch to dostiyan nikli hai for me also.
Anything in your personality, as such, which changed or modified, or which you kind of, thought of, bringing in you post Traitors, like something which you felt like, okay, yeah, this is something which is a learning and that could really work for you?
Even while I was on the show, I wanted to be myself. I was not playing it up. I was not playing a character. Also, when you're playing as an innocent and you're not playing as a traitor, I don't think you need to play a character, because you can just be yourself. That's your baseline that you've created from the first episode. Because I was myself, all of the learnings that I've had in the show about myself and the way I've behaved has actually helped me. Like, I like this question of yours because it's actually helped me become a little bit more introspective about what do I do outside of the show that can maybe make me a better person in that sense. So I never used to give myself credit for being able to walk into a room with complete strangers and make equations. Now I know I've done that. I know that I can do it also again. So that fear of walking into a room with strangers in it has reduced a lot thanks to being on Traitors. Also, I used to constantly overthink. On a show like Traitors, where you have to trust your gut and you don't have a choice. Every single day you have to make a decision, and you have to make that decision about who you think is a traitor. It's helped me overthink so much lesser.
Wow.
So yeah, these are the two learnings that I know, like, ekdam se are coming to my mind right now.
Yeah. Who, according to you, is the best player on the show?
While watching it right now on TV as well, Elnaaz. She's very entertaining to watch because she's a 360 personality when you're looking at her video diaries and how she has played the game with the innocence, where she's just basically been this gullible person where we are concerned. She's tried to be as under the radar, at least for all the episodes that we've seen so far. Aage kya hoga, you will now wait and watch. Yeah. But the first 6 episodes, we've seen her play a game which is a complete opposite of what she is doing when she is meeting
Especially,
the
I
fellow
feel she
traitor.
didn't bring emotions, to
So that was the whole point. Like, some of us decided a game is a game is a game. You have to play it as a game. But there is external baggage that you have to be very clear about when you're playing a game like this. However, with her, because she was the traitor, she could maybe detach because she knew that she had some sort of control, and she knew it's like वो narrator होता है ना, वो third party से anyway they are having a advantage of being able to see how the innocents are reacting while they are doing the gameplay.
Yeah.
So I think it was easier for her to detach, perhaps from that perspective as well. But it just goes to show that she used every single skill and ability available to her to play that game beautifully. And she is very entertaining to watch just from a मज़ा आता है देखने के लिए, like उसने the way she's behaved with us versus what she's done. Plus here on TV, we only get to see 1 hour of that full day. I have lived 16 hours of her being that innocent, gullible person and not been able to pick up on it. So for me, it's even more mazedar to be like, oh my God, like, and I have no problem saying I got fully played by her.
Wow.
But I'm okay with it because that was the game at the end of the day. No, she had to protect herself as the traitor. I truly feel like she's played the best game.
But on this show, especially, what was interesting, and when we saw the entire thing which was happening, you were on the show and so was Maheep Kapoor.
Yeah.
And we all had these thought like, probably, there would be some double crossing taking place. Were you careful and conscious because, back in your mind somewhere you have this like, oh, she's a family member too?
Of course, and my relationship with her has to supersede the show. She is forever going to be my aunt. I forever want her to be in my corner like how she always has been outside of the show, right? But thankfully for me, she is the most sorted person. She was very clear from the beginning. The minute that we've entered the show, she was like, Anshula, this is a game. Whatever happens in this game, it is a game. And even when, for example, there was a day where she said something to me, which I was like, why would you say this? I asked her for an explanation. She said something on the lines of, as long as I'm on the show, you're safe, you won't get murdered. Yeah. So my first thought was that why would you say this? And she gave me her defense. But then other people had their own opinions and logical reasonings because of which they thought Maheep is the traitor. Like Maheep is traitor, सब जगह मतलब वो बोला जा रहा था.
Correct.
I wanted her to defend herself on the circle of Shak because we had seen people who were not able to defend themselves were being eliminated because people thought that the guilt is not letting them be defensive. So I've had a conversation with her before the circle of Shak saying, listen, please, the defense that you have given me when I thought that like, why would you say something like that? I want you to say it in front of everybody. The only time you can say it in front of everybody is on that table. I will bring it up. Will you defend yourself? She said, yeah. I will defend myself, but I can't keep defending myself. I was like, okay, at least for this one thing, you put that defense out there because anyway, in the show, there were preconceived notions about the fact that the two of us will collude and play together. So I needed there to be that kind of separation as well. And she was the best. She was like, you play how you want to play. At the end of the day, it's a game. I will also play it the way I want to play it. At the end of the day, it is a game.
Correct.
Let's not take this baggage back home. It finishes here. It's done with. When we are back in Bombay, when we are back home, we are aunt and niece. We are family. And none of this will ever matter in the regards of our personal equation.
Yeah.
And I think I have to give all the credit to her for this because that is very mature thinking. And that is actually what gave me the comfort to even be in the same game as her without wanting to always sidestep or always backtrack and be like, let's not get into this. So, yeah.
But when your line, basically when you say that, yaha koi saga nahi hota hai, that went viral and people really felt that you are hinting at Maheep.
That line was said when you notice the clothes I'm wearing. That is the line. That is firstly, if you've been watching the show, you know Maheep is Chachi's already been eliminated, and that line was said in clothes that I haven't worn yet, which means that line was said in episode 7 or 8 or 9. By then she ain't there. So I have said that line keeping in mind somebody else who I thought could have been Saga, but then ended up not being Saga. But again, it was a game and it was said for just that moment. That was, she was not in the show at all where that line was said, but again, we love drama. And we always knew on some level or the other that they will want to play up the niece and aunt equation.
Yeah.
So that line, I guess, in the promo was their way of making it seem interesting enough.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you have to say about the rebel kid, aka Apurva? Because when she guessed about Rajkundra, everyone was like, oh, she really has the minds at work, and she has really worked on the theories and observations and all. Did you feel so? Because she is someone also who's very outspoken. She
Yeah.
speaks also a lot, and she would kind of calculate, and she kind of convinced a lot of people, that okay, he is the traitor. So what do you think?
No, she has the gift of the gab. The first 2 days, the day before that also, she, Sufi, Jannat, they were already discussing, Urfi as well at that time, that they think it's Raj, they think it's Raj. They'd come in individually. I remember Sufi had come and spoken to me about it. That day, in fact, I had also had a conversation with Sahil where we were like, do you think it could be Raj? Do you think? And you have to give credit to somebody where credit is due. The way when Raftar, I think it was Raftar who opened up the conversation about Raj perhaps, and then Apurva first did a mellow version of the characteristics that she thinks a traitor has, to which I responded that everything that she's describing is only one person, which could be Raj. And then I think I followed up by saying that I don't know if he's a traitor, but this is the perfect description. And then I think Urfi told her, yes, now go for it. And then she started the entire monologue in which she has very, very, very powerfully put across every point of hers, and that's wonderful. That speaks for her conviction, that speaks for her ability to take charge of a conversation. And what I do like about her is the fact that she had that conviction for Raj, she's had that conviction for other people who have been innocents as well. She was wrong on all of those occasions, so were we.
Yeah.
A lot of times we would get demotivated and be like, भाई हमें तो समझ नहीं आ रहा कि हमें लगा था कि ट्रेटर है, अब वो innocent निकला या निकली है. We would all perhaps retreat. She wouldn't let that take her down. She would again the next day have her own reasonings for somebody else to be the traitor. So her mind works. Her mind works really fast. Sometimes it's not in her favor, because sometimes the observations that she's made is human nature observations and not traitor-based observations.
Yeah.
But the point is that she gives reasons. And that's what the show is about, that you have to, as an innocent, give reasons.
And she gave some valid reasons, and then that kind of proved to be right also.
Yeah, most of the times she always gives valid reasons. Some of the times I don't agree with the way she presents those reasons.
Yeah.
But again, that's personality, and each is to his own.
Now that you have been a part of such a reality show which everyone is speaking about, would you prefer going on Salman Khan's Bigg Boss show also? Because again, that is a lot of people out there, and just going out and presenting yourself.
There is an inherent difference in what Traitors is and what Bigg Boss is. Traitors is not Bigg Boss, at least if you look at the original concept of what Traitors is supposed to be. It's not Bigg Boss. It's a psychological game show. More importantly than that, the time frame in which the shows are shot are very different. Traitors is a 2 weeks game. Bigg Boss is much longer and larger. I don't watch Bigg Boss, so I don't really know what the current Bigg Boss looks like. But having been on Traitors and having done some sort of reality TV, I know I'm not cut out for it just yet right now. I don't want to do a Bigg Boss where I stand right now, because I don't think I will be able to enjoy myself in that environment. I don't believe that I'm there at this point. Traitors was more of me taking a risk and saying yes to do a captive reality game show. I do not believe Bigg Boss is a game show. And the way that we were told Traitors is supposed to be, the show was meant to show strategy and thinking. It was not supposed to be an emotionally heavy show where they are just showing emotional outbursts. When you're living in a house together, which is completely unscripted for 17, 18 hours, it is bound to happen that you will have an emotional up and down. So it's unfortunate that some of those have made it to camera. Where Bigg Boss is concerned, I'm actually not very familiar with how scripted or unscripted it is. I know Traitors is completely unscripted, and I know Traitors was always meant to be just one episode a day, but in 2 weeks. I can risk doing that, and knowing in 2 weeks I'm not cut out for it, versus going in for months at a time. So to answer your question, having given a choice, would I want to do a captive reality show again? Not where I stand right now. This is not.
Actually, but the interesting part is that you have stayed away from the limelight for a very long time, and it was difficult to even catch a glimpse of you. To this day today that you have become a part of a show, you have kind of come with your social media apps, talking about concerns, be it PCOS, be it weight gain and loss and like that, which people kind of resonate with. Would you now even try for acting? Would you kind of want to step into that world?
No, because I don't believe being able to perform for a 2-minute reel means you can perform in a film. I also don't at this point have an inclination to do that. So I don't think I want to go into and do and pursue acting and not be able to do justice to that. At one point in my life, I may have done theatre as a subject in school and I may have been able to perform beautifully on stage. Again, performing on stage is not the same as performing for a film on camera. I don't have any desires right now to be an actor. I don't think I want to give that a shot at this point either. And I genuinely don't think that I'm going to do myself any favors by pursuing that, because I don't think that it's the same way to present yourself when you're self-shooting a reel or when you're performing for a reel on your page for a topic that you believe in. My reels are also not skits, they're not performative. My reels and my content on my page is, to a great extent, it's me being myself. So it is a little bit informative, it is a little bit big sisterly. So I'm not putting up an act in that sense. So I don't know how to do acting in that way. And I'm not sure I will be able to survive the scrutiny that will come where my own body is concerned if I choose to become an actor by and large, because we all know the world and the country that we live in. Actors are crucified for looking or not looking any particular way. And I don't want to put myself willingly through that at all. It's not necessary.
And also, if you had to kind of play this game, in your household, have you ever tried that, post coming from the show?
No,
like
we've
the
not.
Traitors
Honestly, I've not played anything related to Traitors since I've come back from Traitors, because the trauma is still very real for me at this point. So no, I've never played Mafia with my family. I've never played it at home at all.
Yeah. We did see Janhvi Kapoor going all out, She's taking some memes out of it and putting on her story also.
So I posted that meme because somebody from my broadcast channel sent me a few of these memes that have been obviously floating around the internet. And I think that was really funny because, and I posted it and I tagged my boyfriend because I think the meme was that when you're all ready for a fight and then he says sorry, so then you kind of deflate because you can't even have that fight. And I've gone through those beats in my own life, so I thought it was really relatively funny. So I tagged like Rohan on it, and she saw the meme on my page and I think she made it into like a joke out of it. She is extremely supportive anyway. But yeah.
In fact, she was the one, you also confessed about it, that she introduced your boyfriend to the WhatsApp group, the family group. That
no, he's not the family WhatsApp group. She was the first person from my siblings that I made Rohan meet.
Okay.
Like it was not like it was a litmus test, but it was just that from Bhaiya, from Khush, from Janu. Janu was the first one that Rohan met, and it was just the three of us hanging together. Then we had a meal. So that she was the first, the soft launch was through her in that sense.
But what do you have to say about media scrutiny otherwise, for actors? Do you feel now it has increased a lot over the years? Because even a little thing which happens, around them becomes a news. Like even if they're wearing slippers and it becomes news. The pap culture is all out there. Even if they're walking in a certain manner, there's some different news altogether. And we have seen Samantha Ruth Prabhu also losing her cool recently. Many actors like that. What do you have to say on that? Do you feel that it's increased a lot over the years?
I think not only has media scrutiny and media invasiveness increased over the years, it's also coupled with social media. So a lot of times if you notice articles are lazy journalism articles. They have picked up maybe some troll comments across social media channels and platforms and made that into an article. Essentially speaking, I don't think the job of media, even if it's entertainment media, is to bring a person down by character assassination when they know that it's not true. I don't think the job of the media is to amplify troll voices if there is no justification for it or if it's unnecessary. So yes, the media scrutiny has become much more. The media empathy has become much less from the standpoint of being invasive at this point as well. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with the fact that social media has become a little bit of an unkind place more than a kind place, because your unkind voices are amplified more than the kind voices. Earlier, the media would be restricted to their own access to celebrities because it would be in places where the media would be invited. For example, it's a press conference, or it's a launch, or it's a premiere, or it's an interview. Now the media is even in uninvited places, whether it is a funeral, whether it is a prayer meet, whether it is the most vulnerable moment of somebody being admitted to the hospital. The media has lost empathy because they just want to chase who gets that first image, the most viral image. They are not even letting children go.
Yeah.
And I think that's unkind, because a child or a parent should be able to make a decision, and then you must be able to abide by that decision of whether you show a child or not, or you analyze a child or not. So in a lot of ways, yes, I think the media scrutiny has increased and has gone into places where I don't think they have any business being. And I don't know if media journalism exists too much anymore in the entertainment sphere, because much of it is now reliant on either what an artist is putting out on their own social media, what one of their loved ones is putting out on their social media, or what a troll campaign is putting out, or what a third party user on X or on Instagram or on Reddit or on Threads is putting out about somebody who they've never even met. And then they do a compilation of those and make it into a media article. How is that media? How is, like, what are you trying to achieve by doing that?
That's a very good point, and I must take a note of this. But before I let you go, what are your upcoming projects you're focusing on after this?
I'm writing a book. It's a non-fiction book with Penguin, which we're working on. The first draft is completed, the first manuscript. So we're working on the final manuscript. Hopefully before we meet the next time next year, I think the book will be out.
Will we get to see more of you now that you have done something?
I don't know if you will get to see more of me in the realm of a reality show.
Yeah.
But again, never say never. Something in me made me say yes to doing a Traitor, so maybe there could be something that I do say yes to in the future. As of right now, I'm literally focusing on leaning into becoming a content creator that adds value, not just to my life, but even to the people who do follow me. And I'm leaning into completing this book as much as I possibly can. So that's what is currently in the cards for me.
Well, it was lovely chatting with you, Anshula.
Thank you.
And I love the way you are strategically answering the questions, but not strategically. You are so well informed about a lot of topics, I must say that.
Thank you.
That was lovely knowing from your side, and thank you so much for your lovely time.
Thank you.
Looking forward to see more of you, I'm sure.
Thank you.
you.